Hello, and welcome back to our Social Capital series. In this session, I have a career conversation with Mariana Ayerbe. Mariana is Deputy Director of Career Education here in Career and Professional Development. In this recording, she talks to me about her career journey to date and shares some real stories about how she successfully used her social capital to advance her career. Mariana was a psychology major in undergrad, and she talks openly with me about changing her major 3 times, trying out a few career paths, getting through graduate school without any work experience, and eventually finding her way to higher education. She tells me about how being herself, offering to help others, and figuring out how to get things done helped her build relationships with people who eventually helped her solidify and advance her career. And we discover that though our overall career journeys were very different, our direct paths into Mercy happened exactly the same way, through a colleague that we'd gotten to know who referred us into a position here on the career team. Mariana's story is a true testament that wandering through your career a little bit is actually a great thing, and that simply trying new things and putting yourself out there can bring about exciting wins. There's truly something for everyone in this session, and I really hope you enjoy hearing from Mariana. This session is being offered as part of our Fall 2024 Career Academy series. Today, I'm here to introduce you to the topic of social capital. Throughout the rest of the series, you'll hear stories from members of the career team at Mercy about how their social capital helped them achieve milestones in their careers. We all know firsthand how important connections are when it comes to career success, and I can't wait for you to hear some of these wonderful stories that we have to share with you. After you watch a Career Academy session, make sure you take the quiz on our website to earn your credit for that session. If you watch at least 4 sessions and submit those quizzes, you'll earn a digital badge at the end of the semester that you can list on your resume and share on LinkedIn if you wish. All badge earners will be entered into our iPad raffle, and we'll draw that name the week of December 9th, so get those quizzes in by December 5th if you want to be included in the raffle. Hi there, and welcome back to a career conversation with the career team. My name is Lynn Leese. I'm the Director of Career Education here at Mercy University. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with our Deputy Director of Career Education, Mariana Ayerbe. Mariana, welcome to the Zoom room.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn, for having me, and I'm very excited to be here.
I'm so excited for everyone to hear some of your stories. I thought we could kick it off if you want to tell us a little bit about the current work that you do here at Mercy.
Yes, sure. So I've been at Mercy for about 10 years now, and I started as a career advisor, career coach, and I've been in the Manhattan campus the whole time I've been here. I love it here on this campus. And I've counseled many students in all types of fields, all types of majors, at different levels of their career, from the start till after they leave Mercy. And after doing that for maybe 7 years, I transitioned to career in curriculum, which really means EPIC, just our efforts to include career content in the classroom. And you might have seen some of that already in your classes. If not, it will come. And I've been working on that now for the past, I think, 3 years. And this is my current role as Lynn said, Deputy Director of Career Education. I'm really focused on EPIC and on what happens to students after they leave Mercy. So we track them down, we track what their outcomes are, and if they go to grad school or they work, where they work. Of course, we help them if they need help, and so on. So that's me now.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna joke if if higher ed had kind of a special projects role like business does. I feel like that's what you do. It's kind of
Special projects.
all of the really big, important work that we're doing. Some of it you're leading, some of it you're supporting, but in all cases, you're kind of the right-hand person on all of the big stuff we have to do.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I love it because it's very varied, and we create a lot of what we do. So it's not like we can just follow the manual, the instructions. We're creating a lot of what we're doing. And it also means a lot to me because I've met the students that we're trying to do initiatives for and to work for. So maybe I haven't met all of them, of course, but I have counseled many of them. I've sat with them. I know our students, so I'm really happy to be contributing in this way now.
That's amazing. So can you tell us now a little bit, well, a lot of it about the journey to get to Mercy? What was your career like before you got here?
Yes, thank you for asking. I actually got here through, I was working in another college before, and I was new to higher ed. So I'd been there maybe 5 years, and I was learning a lot, and I liked it a lot, but I was fairly new. And then I met a colleague at my other college who had been doing it for longer. And I just offered to help her in a career fair. I offered to help her because I know she was she's doing so many things and she knew the employers and the students. And she was also trying to do surveys for employers, and she was trying to do surveys for our students. And they were per paper surveys, and she was trying to collect them. And I just saw she was doing too much at the same time. So that wasn't my station. I was supposed to do something else, but I said, do you want me to help you? And I just grabbed a bunch of surveys and I just started doing that, right? She didn't really have to think about it. It was like, yes, please, I need to do two other things. So I started that way. I started helping her at the career fair, not just handing them out, but then getting them back. So asking employers and students to fill them out, getting them back. And then what happened was it was random. She was working on another campus, and at the end of the career fair, she forgot to take them with her. So she would usually take them back, and it was very low tech. So she would take them back, and she would actually input the answers into a spreadsheet, right? So she would sit there and record A, B, C, whatever, and then the results. But I grabbed those, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to send them to her the next day. But I had some time that morning and I thought, I'm going to add them up for her. I'm going to put them in a spreadsheet so that she doesn't have more work. And again, nobody asked me to do that. I just did it because I had the time and I had the surveys. So, and everyone, of course, in our team wanted to know, what did the students think? What did the employers think? That's very much an immediate thing. You want to know how people did in an event. So I thought if I could cut 2 days from this process, I will. And I did that, and she loved it, and our boss loved it. I didn't do it for that. I didn't do it for her to praise me or anything. I just said I had time. Let me try to do something. And then I did send them I did send her the actual surveys, but I had a chance to look at them and share with my colleague. And she's really happy, and she was shocked that I had done it so fast because she was spread too thin, so she had to do this, and it took her longer because she was doing so many things at once. And that's it. And then we just became really good colleagues, and she would ask me for help with other things, and I would help her things. She would help me as well because she was way more experienced. So I would rely on her for information on, of course, I could ask my manager, but I didn't want to go to everything, go to my manager with everything. So I knew I could always ask my friend, okay, let me try to figure it out. And if not, I'll ask the person I know who's been here longer. So it just became a really easy working relationship. And I just knew I could count on her and she could also count on me. And then I just became the survey person in the in the career fairs. She just relied on me. You handle surveys. We redesigned the questions. We had it eventually on an iPad. We had a computer system. Like we modified the surveys, but I became the survey person. I wasn't assigned it ever, but I just because I offered to help at one point, then people just assumed I was going to do it, and I was happy to do it. It was fun and easy, and I could always compare against past fairs how we did, not just today, but through the years. So that's my friend who I met at my other institution. Then she left, she went to work at Mercy. And I had never heard of Mercy. I was very new to higher ed. And then she told me she was leaving. I was very upset because she was my good friend who I made at work. And I really relied on her for a lot of information and just guidance in my career there. And maybe a year and a half later, we kept in touch, of course. We were friends outside. We kept in touch. It wasn't forced. It was just a nice person so you keep in touch. You say, happy holidays, happy birthday. It's not, you don't have to really go network with them. They already know you. So you just keep in touch. And then about a year later, she told me there's an opening in the career center. Would you like me to share your name and just to give you some information? I said, absolutely. And that's how it happened. Then she introduced me to her former director, and I had an interview. And then maybe 6 months later, after many interviews and quite a long process, I came to Mercy, and she was there maybe for the first 5 years, maybe more, first 7 years that I've been here. And yes, that's how it happened. It was easy. It was not I didn't have to think I'm going to talk to that person because that person can help me later. No, it wasn't like that at all. I'm just talking to somebody because I want to help. I'm doing a job, but I could do something else. Within my role, I could help somebody else who I know needs help. And it was a little thing. I wasn't going for a very glamorous project, right? It was collecting surveys and handing out surveys, but it's little things you can do. Everyone can do something. And it felt like myself, which is offer somebody who literally has like 3 binders and a pack of surveys and trying to do 3 things at once. Like I'll grab some of those, I'll walk around. That's how small it is, right? It doesn't have to be, let me get the most, complicated and glamorous project and let me shine. No, just be yourself and be proactive. I thought that was the thing that helped there was I didn't think of it as, again, as the transaction or what is this going to do for me later, but it seemed like I could offer help. And then that led to a really, really easy working relationship with somebody who I didn't know could help me later. And that's how I came to Mercy. So I was happy I offered to help.
There's so much about the story I love. And we've been working together. We've been working together for 7.5 years, something
Yes.
like that. And I didn't know this story. And I was going to ask you what you thought you did well to leverage that. I'm sure you have other thoughts, but I can hear already that sort of like offer to help, be proactive. And as always, with every single one of these stories that we talk about, it doesn't start with maybe this person can get me a job. It starts with this is a colleague that I want to get to know, or this is someone I think I can help, or whatever that is. Um, there's so much about that story that feels so genuine to you. I was smiling the whole way because I was like, yes, this is Mariana to a T, right? Number one, just gonna jump in and help wherever I'm needed. How can I help? I feel like I hear that from you all the time. How can I help? What can I do? There was we don't have a process around this. I'm just gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. And truly you have out of thin air created processes here at Mercy for our department that not only live on today, but are the gold standard of how we do things. And you are the only one who knows how to do it the right way. So, like that's, I think such your brand, and not even in a corporate intentional way. It's just who you are. And I was also laughing at the part where someone said, I can't believe you did that so fast, because I also think I say that all the time. I can't believe you did that so fast. It's already done. I don't know where you find the time and the energy and the capacity, but um, I say all of that to say this is yet another, as I knew it would be, example of just you authentically show up. You just are you. And so your approach here was, this person needs help. I can identify a way that I can help. I'm going to jump in. And we've talked a lot with students about how networking or social capital relationships are two-way streets. It's not just how is that person going to help me, but so often it starts, or it, compounds with how can I help you? And I really, really love that about that story. I wanted to see, you encapsulated it so beautiful. Is there anything else you think that you did particularly well, either in kind of initiating that relationship or keeping up that relationship, or maybe when the time came, like leveraging it to come here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about it a lot when I talk about networking with students because it's so scary. It sounds so scary and it sounds so like it will take so much effort and then I have to remember everyone's names. I'm terrible at that. And so I'm like, who is this person? Where do they work? It just feels so hard. But it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, maybe you sign yourself up for a networking event and you go and you wear name tags and you really do it. That's one way. But another way is just the people that you're around. Like those are the people who you can get started with. And maybe that's okay for now. You don't have to think about going to a national conference or network. You could start right here. So everyone has people around them. So people sitting in your class, they're not going to be students for the rest of their lives. People around you when you go to the cafeteria, just offering to talk to anyone. Of course, we're all busy, we're all on our phones, but everyone's okay if you say something or class do you recommend, whatever comes to mind, just starting to talk to others. And again, in class, offering to help with things, projects. It doesn't have to be for a specific gain, right? You don't have to think about it. What am I going to get out of it? You're going to get that you help somebody. That's what you're getting out of it. rather than sit there and look at your phone, just talking to a human being. And then when they see you down the hall, they'll remember you helped. In that same career fair that first day, I also noticed, I'm just thinking of a student now, not a professional. There were students who were attending the career fair, and at the end, we were breaking down everything, and some students helped. They saw that we were collecting tablecloths and putting chairs away. They just started helping. It was like a handful of students who saw us, they knew us, and they said, "Oh, you need help? I'll put the chairs away." We didn't ask them, but some of them ended up getting jobs at our office as, student workers. But it's those things. I feel like the things that you're not asked for are the things that really help set you apart in a way.
And I also liked your point about it wasn't a glamorous task, right? It was just a very simple procedural thing that clearly needed doing. And sometimes it's those things. I mean, I have a story I tell a lot from my last institution. One of my students who was an intern at a big media company, and the way she got her hand on the bigger projects is literally at that time, this is not how those internships run anymore, but students just sat around a table kind of in a conference room, and the editors would come in and ask, who can help me with X, and nobody was raising their hands because it was things like who can help me put a mailing together and who can make copies. And our intern kept raising her hand, and eventually they brought her in on some of the bigger stuff. Sometimes it's a training ground. If you can handle that specific thing, then you can do the bigger stuff. But also sometimes it's just who has the attitude that they're just willing to jump in and help, right? Where help
Yeah.
is needed, because those are the kinds of people that we want on a team.
Yeah, I'm really happy you said attitude because I feel like that's something that I always look when in people who in our team who we need to hire or student employees or why interns do well or why students do well. It's really their attitude because that's not something you can necessarily learn in a classroom and it's hard to get training on that. You just have to have it within you. We can't make you come on time. If you don't want to show up on time, you just don't. But if you want to come on time, guess what? You make it. I don't know what the difference is. 5 minutes alarm. I don't know what happens. Some people show up, some people don't. And so those things, I feel like, again, you're not going to be with that. Just showing up on time doesn't mean you're going to be the best, employee. But when somebody comes around, they see you, they know you're reliable, right? They know you're interested in the role. They know you care. So I think those are things you really see things you can control, right? And then when you get to work, I have student employees in front of me, they're sitting at their desk. I don't think they have a ton to do today, but guess what? They don't have their headphones in. They're not listening to music. They look like they have things to do. And they often come around and say, "Do you need help with anything?" And that's why we're going to keep them. I'm vouching for them to stay on next semester. So it's these little things that are within our reach, right? So it doesn't have to be so scary and so big. Like I'm signing up for this networking conference in Chicago. Fine, you can do that too, but you can also just talk to people around you and offer to help.
I think that's so, and what you said there about that's if you care, right? That's how you show you care, and people want to work with people who care. That's so fundamental, and I think it's so intrinsic to you too, right? And so that's how you showed it. It wasn't You didn't come in saying, I want to make sure this person knows me so they can get me a job later. It was, I care, so I'm going to help, and then you find other people that you want to be connected with because they also care, right? That's how we build that sort of organic relationship in those circles, and then sometimes somebody knows about a job and they can help you get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
I actually want to ask you a little more about your history too, but I just like
Mhm.
really quickly on a personal note too. I
Mhm.
loved hearing this story because I did not realize in all the years we were working together, I didn't realize the details of how you got to Mercy. And my story is exactly the same.
You
It's
see,
literally the same. I
yes,
had a
it's
colleague
not.
who I was working with at my last college who
Mhm.
left. We had made a very close relationship organically, naturally. We were just very like-minded. And she came here, and about 6 months later, I was on the search and something was open, and she said, "You should come interview," and she put in a good word. I mean, these things are so common.
Yes, it's not more complicated than that. And you don't really
Right.
need like a formula, step one, step two. Just be yourself, be nice, be thoughtful, and try to be proactive, be genuine, right? You're not using people. You're not saying, who am I going to talk to? Am I going to talk to this person? No, she doesn't know anyone. talk to people. I mean, I know it's hard to talk to people, but be genuine, right?
Yeah.
And also have faith that things are will work out, right? You have to have a little bit of faith that the people know you now. They know your reputation because you've shown up on time, you've been helpful, you've had a good attitude, you don't have your headphones on, you have a hoodie on. Like all those things make you somebody who people want to recommend and work with, maybe. So it's little things.
I love that so much. Um, I do want to ask you also because I think probably a lot of our students will resonate with some piece of this. Can you back up a little even more, and even briefly just talk about kind of like what did you major in college? What was that first job out of college? And then how did you find your way from wherever that first step was to higher ed?
Yes, so that was, as many of our students, I was a psychology major in college, and I loved it. I loved studying it. I thought it was the most amazing thing I could learn. It was really fun. Those of you who are psychology majors know it's fun. So it was a lot of fun, but then I had no clue what I was going to do with it. I did internships, but they were not related to psychology at all. It was like editorial and publishing, just internships that were posted. I thought, why not? Whenever I saw an internship posted that said open to all majors, I would just apply because I was it. I was all majors. It wasn't specific, and I just wanted to learn. I always thought, I'm not going to waste my time learning about publishing. I'll learn something about publishing. So maybe that's not my life, but now I know. So I did a couple of internships and I graduated and I wanted to go to grad school. So I went to grad school for organizational psychology and I again loved it. But there I realized everyone who was in the program was working already. So they were there. It was the classes were mostly at night. And I really felt like that wasn't a great idea for me because people had real work experience to draw from when they were studying the content. And I just had content. I didn't have something to really relate it to. So that was quite hard for me, but I mean I did it and I did quite well, but I just thought I would have gotten more out of it had I been working already a few years or while I was doing my master's. Then I graduated and then I just started looking for a job. I just, again, quite there, I was a little more focused because my favorite class was employee selection and development. So that gave me something. It gave me some focus as to where I could be looking. So I started looking into selection or development type of roles and I got a job in recruiting. So I started in campus recruiting actually. So that was literally hiring new grads to fill positions in a bank. And then after that, I met somebody who was on campus helping like employer relations, like we have here, Sarah and Galen. Somebody similar to that in employer relations who I connected with in order to hire new graduates. Then I thought I really like that job. I really like that side of it. So how do you get to work there? And then I made some contacts, connections that I was working with. It wasn't forced, it's just the people I had to talk to do interviews on campus. And then one of them told me how to apply to a job and I did. And that's how I got into higher ed. So you can't really plan it out, or at least in my life, I couldn't plan it out and say in 2 years I'm doing this, in 4 years I'll do that. But it just being open to talking to people and hearing how people get to where they are, which is what you're doing now. Just being open and listening and taking advice. People are happy to give you good advice, right? They're not there to take anything from you. They're there to try to help you. There's opportunities for everyone. So that's how I got into higher ed.
And I love that you were just sort of like, I see that job. That job feels cool. Let me
Yeah.
ask the question, right? It was just kind of, again, almost simple. I know it can feel really scary to make those steps, but just, I'm going to ask the question. One of the things that I find so fun about these is um, one of our other sessions, I talked to one of our associate directors, Samantha, and she has a similar trajectory. She also majored in psychology. She also went HR and business first and then landed here. What I think is so interesting, and this is, we tell people all the time, your path is yours, right? It's not going to look exactly the same as somebody else's. She did a lot of work in undergrad that sort of focused her in two directions, and so then she went to one and then the other. And what I love about your story is that you kinda, like, threw stuff at the wall. You know, like, "Listen, I
Yeah.
don't know, and the possibilities are kind of endless, so let me just see. Let me intern in publishing. Let me, just figure it out. Let me go to grad school for IO Psych. Let me see what that's like. Let me see what class I like the best and just kind of follow that trajectory." It feels and sometimes I think when students are in that kind like in the middle of that, they feel like they're lost and it's a negative. And I think it's actually very cool, and we try to encourage students, just try stuff, right? Try stuff, rule stuff out, learn more about yourself, narrow down the options. When you're in a major as broad as psychology and it can take you in so many directions, sometimes you just have to try one and see if
Oh,
you like it, and if you don't, then you try something else. And there's something actually really fun about that, and I would venture that all of those pieces that you tried along the way help you in some capacity. I mean, maybe you didn't end up in publishing or editorial, but boy, you need those writing and editing skills everywhere you go and in your current role, right? And, that IO psychology and that idea of recruiting, like, probably gave you a lot of relationship building skills, but also gives you real world experience to talk to students because you've been on that side of the desk. So I love that you were just kind of willing to go, I'm going to try stuff and see where it lands.
yeah. It's there to try. I actually didn't even tell you, I be very quick on this, but even before psychology, I tried 3 different majors. So in the spirit of trying, but I
Oh,
never
tell us
felt like
this.
I never felt like I was wasting time or people were gonna judge me. No, I'm like, well, let me try and see. How am I gonna decide if I have never, I mean, there's some things I don't have to try. There's some majors that I had no interest in. I'm not gonna say anything, but like accounting. I don't need to try that to know it's not for me, but it's some things I know. But then there are others that I'm like, I don't know, maybe I would love architecture. Let me try. And so I tried a few things that were great to study, but then I thought this is, I mean, you know when you know, and I thought this is not for me. This is great to learn, but I don't need to do my whole career out of this. I don't need to construct this. So, but I never felt like I was a failure for trying, right? There's some people who are really driven and they know you ask them at 18, I'm going to be XYZ. They know the job title, they know the field, they know the name of the employer. And I thought, wow, great. But I don't have that. I don't have that. I'm just going to see what I end up in. But I'm not going to sit at home and see what I end up in. I'm going to go and try things and go to the internships, try the classes, and nothing was wasted. Like maybe, I don't know how many credits were not put in the next major, but I never thought, okay, it's such a waste. I was still getting an education. I was still learning. And I thought, okay, maybe I can't use again my architecture classes in psychology, but it was a lot of just learning about the world and how other people think and view problems, right? And solve problems. So I was happy to always get an education, even if it wasn't in something I knew I could use immediately. So yes, don't be scared about that. If you are, or there's friends that you have that know and they know what they're gonna do year 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, great. But not everyone is like that. And that's okay.
And I just, I think so many students actually need to hear that because there are students out there who have changed their major or changed institutions or changed career paths and feel like they can't focus or settle on one thing, and that's a bad thing. And I really almost wandering through a little bit and staying open to these possibilities can be such a positive, truly, not even just no, it's not bad. It can be really positive toward the trajectory of your career. And I think it's so powerful to hear, if students are watching this and you're, sitting with somebody like Mariana on our team, a lot of accomplished people, but she's got this huge job and she's incredibly respected and she's made all of these relationships. And sometimes you look at someone like her and you're like, yeah, but how do you even get there? I'm lost. Right? And the answer is she was also wandering through her career at some point, like figuring it out, just trying stuff, feeling scared, but doing it anyway, and, changing her mind and trying something else. And, I really think kind of comes back to that theme of attitude from earlier in our conversation of, are you going to look at everything that you sort of changed from and leave behind as a waste of time and something that just delayed you? Or are you going to look at it as a learning opportunity and a set of skills that you've, built and something that you've added to your repertoire, but you're moving on from? And I think that attitude that you came into it with really helped you. You've built this whole like set of skills that really just was so applicable where you wanted to land, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's so relatable, and I think a lot of students actually need to hear that from you.
Yes, I'm glad to share more. You can always reach out to me. I can share. We can talk about all the majors and all the options. Yeah, I'm happy to share more if you wanted to contact me directly.
This
Mhm.
is so amazing. So, Mariana, if I can ask you as we wind down this conversation, though I always feel like I could talk to you for another hour, um, is there anything you gave so much incredible advice in such a short time in this conversation, but is there like one takeaway either we didn't ask you or you'd like to just make sure you leave students with about building relationships and social capital?
Yeah, I would say don't be scared because it's not scary. It's just being nice and being helpful to others. Like you want other people to be helpful to you. It's just that. Just start there. Just be yourself and just be helpful to others. I think that's it. It'll work out, but you have to talk to people. That's all. People around you, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that, but just be open to asking people how they are doing, why they're doing what they're doing. Just learn, and then you'll be surprised how it becomes clearer for you as well.
Incredible advice. Mariana is the Deputy Director of Career Education here at Mercy University. Her office is in Manhattan in Central Station. She is available virtually as well if you have questions and want to learn more about her trajectory or her advice along your career path. Mariana, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.
That's all for this session. Be sure to visit the Career Academy website to take your quiz and get credit for watching this session. I hope you ace it, but your score won't affect your attendance. You just need to submit the quiz to get credit for the session towards your digital badge and your entry into the iPad raffle. If you want to follow up on anything discussed today, email us at cpd@mercy.edu or find your career coach's handshake link on our website. And do me a favor and give us a follow on Instagram. We're pushing out fun educational content all the time, so don't miss a thing.